And welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
And we are back for another episode. I think this is like our 116th episode.
What?
It's crazy.
We're old.
We're like mature now.
Yes,
I think in podcast years we're still toddlers.
It
like
depends.
I think like if we hit 200 episodes, we're then in our teens.
Okay.
There's some podcasts, like we're new to the podcast world because podcasting's been around for a long time, and there are people that are like there's thousands of episodes.
That's true. But there are so many podcasts that do like 5 episodes and then never do it.
And then never again.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
the fact that you guys haven't gotten
116
yet.
Yeah. 116 is nothing to balk at, I guess.
No.
So
I'm proud of us. High fives.
We do that better live. Like,
yeah.
Just so you guys know. Val, we've talked about this on the show.
Secret.
Yeah.
You got to watch
on the show. Val does a great job with the high five. So
been practicing my entire life.
Yeah.
On my resume.
Slap hands.
Not sure what that was.
It's from Waterboy.
I've never seen that
So
one.
stupid.
Sorry.
It's a stupid movie.
You don't have to apologize for never having seen Waterboy, by the way. Like,
it's the Citizen Kane of Adam Sandler movies.
No, it's not. But like the person who made you sit down and watch Waterboy should apologize to you. Like, that's how that apology should go. So I feel like you have to apologize to us for having not seen it.
It was made for 16-year-old boys. So if you watched it when you were 16, then you don't need to apologize to yourself because you were doing what you needed to do at the time.
Yeah.
But there's no reason for any adult to go back and watch that movie unless your 16-year-old kid was like, hey, watch this movie with me. But they're not going to ask you to do that because there's so many other better things to do.
Yeah. And before you like change the channel or whatever for your podcast that you're listening to or YouTube channel, like, we are not talking about Waterboy on this isn't like a bait and switch where we said last week we were going to talk about Free Guy and now we're talking about Waterboy. I promise that is not what's happening.
We will get to Free Guy in a second after we mumble and talk about things totally non-related to our podcast like we do for the first 5 minutes of every podcast that we do.
Right. We just happened to bring up a movie in this one. I just wanted to make sure you understood.
That would be a plot twist, though. That's like an M. Night Shyamalan type plot twist.
Well, it depends on which M. Night Shyamalan. Well, yeah, but you don't like M. Night Shyamalan, so that makes sense that you would call it that type. Like, some of his plot twists are actually pretty okay. But, yeah, I thought The Village was pretty interesting.
I like a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
I think they make me think. I don't think they're all very well executed, but I think they're all very interesting. Not all of them. Most of them are very interesting.
Yeah. And I did like The Sixth Sense. I know you figured it out early, Tracy.
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't. I was also a lot younger, so it scared the...
I like Signs. I don't even care. I'll put my tinfoil hat on and I'll sit down and watch that movie. Don't even care.
As long as none of us like Avatar, the Last Airbender, then I'm okay with that.
Never seen it.
Yeah, okay, so good. Just know that if you like the TV series, the animated series, and then you watch that, you do not like that movie at all. And if you haven't watched the animated series and you watch it, you still don't like that movie at all. It's just a good movie.
It's just a rule?
Yeah, it's just like, trust me, just watch it sometime and you'll see.
Oh, okay. It's like, here, this tastes like crap. Try it. Will you taste it?
Like, see how crappy it tastes.
This is the worst thing I've ever had.
Yeah.
You should probably try it.
I need you to experience how bad this is so that we can talk about it. That's what it is.
I think I'm washing my hair that day.
Okay, that's fine. We'll watch it. We'll do the Sharknado marathon and then finish it off with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Hey, a couple weeks ago on Sci-Fi, they had a reverse chronological order. They had a reverse chronological order marathon. So you started with 5 and went down to 1.
Yep. Does it make it better when you watch it in that order?
I will be completely honest. The movies are terrible, and we've talked about this. But
yeah, we know
when you are watching those movies in the right frame of mind with the right group of people, it's hilarious.
In prison with your friends.
And we've talked about this. We need to sit down and watch it with you, Tracy, because I think that would make it more enjoyable for everybody. Because, yeah, I think that there are movies out there that are like that, where you just sit down, you watch them, and you're like, yeah, with a group of friends, this is really the worst movie I've ever seen. But
Snakes on a Plane.
The experience was really what it was about.
Yeah, seeing Snakes on a Plane with a group of friends on opening night in a packed theater was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How old are you, Tracy?
But it was fun, huh?
How old are you, Tracy?
46.
Okay, on your 50th birthday, I'm going to rent out a theater, and I'm going to buy all the Sharknadoes so that all five of them.
Wow.
We can see it in the theater with all of your friends.
Yeah. We'll all watch it together.
But speaking of movies that we watched together, we got to see this one all together.
We did. We got to see Free Guy together, and it was a very different experience than what we just described previous to this, because we all really enjoyed it. And I think that we'll talk about that as we talk about it. But yeah, Free Guy, the new Ryan Reynolds movie, it is out in theaters and only in theaters. So bold move from 20th Century Studios, which if you don't know is 20th Century Fox, which is now owned by Disney. So it's now 20th Century Studios. And boy, they are really profiting in the movie theater, in the actual movie itself, storytelling wise, from that Disney relationship with some of the stuff they're able to throw in here.
Well, we just in our last episode talked a little bit about the Lego movie, and the whole first section of this movie, I just wanted to sing "Everything is Awesome" the whole time.
Yes.
His character Guy, he plays this character called Guy because he's a guy in a movie or in a video game. You do not have to be a video game player or lover to like this movie. I'm not a gamer.
Yep.
And I absolutely love this movie. I've seen it twice. I will see it again. But as he wakes up every day and he puts on the same clothes and he's smiling and he says hi to his fish and he goes to the same coffee shop and gets the same coffee, all I could think, and then he walks down the street and he's like, I really love this coffee. I wish there was a song about it. That's a mention to
the
Lego movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. There's just so many pop culture references and Easter eggs in this movie. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And that was the exact vibe that I felt like I got from watching the movie too. It was like, yeah. And I think, like you said, it was on purpose, and that makes it even more brilliant. But I do want to take a minute, like, speaking of his coffee, the way he describes how things taste is just incredible.
It's my favorite.
It's incredible. Like,
I hope they just let him go on that. I hope those weren't scripted and they were just there's a whole bunch of bloopers somewhere of him just describing coffee and ice cream. And
we want you to describe this coffee as something really good, but we want you to do it in like however you want to do it, just a very descriptive way. This is like losing my virginity or something, like whatever he throws in there, like my mouth just lost its virginity or something. And I'm like, I don't drink coffee.
This is as if Jesus were to come back. Tell my dad
that he was good enough or something like that.
I was like, oh shit.
I know for a fact the director said he's got about 35 minutes of Taika Watiti outtakes. I'm sure he has that much, if not more, for Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by either of that, because both of them are brilliant and both of them are really, really good in this movie.
Yeah.
I really hope that Taika Waititi's wardrobe was really just from his own closet in this movie, because he already dresses very interesting in real life. Like if you see any of like the behind the scenes stuff for on the Disney Plus for The Mandalorian, you'll see that he already wears some really cool clothes that are weird in a good way. But Taika Waititi's character of the owner of this gaming company is like the douchiest guy. And he does everything that you think. And I'm not saying like those of you that have like these jackets from the movies and you go to like the different Comic-Cons and you buy all this stuff. I love that jacket. That jacket's awesome. But that's also like the most stereotypical thing that you could do for an owner of a company to like put on the jacket from really bad movie, really good video game. I can't
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed. and wear that in there, and then his freaking ridiculous shoes that I want, but then also to just like talk to people the way that he talks to them. Like by the end of this movie, I was like, I hate Taika Waititi. He's awful.
Yeah. So before we get too much further into it, I do want to at this point say, like we always do, we are getting into spoilers. So if you have not seen Free Guy, please go see it first and then come back and listen to this episode. We would hate to ruin, because we're going to talk about some things on here that will, I mean, it won't ruin the movie going experience for you, but it'll make it less enjoyable. So please, please. Yeah. And even if you're someone who doesn't typically care about spoilers, just please take my word for it and come back and listen to this episode after you've seen the movie.
There are moments in this movie that I cheered.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if we tell you in advance what those moments are, you're not going to have that moment. And it's a really fun theater experience.
But I will say, Val did tell us beforehand that Taika Waititi was like the biggest douche in this movie. And when they show him for the first time, you don't get to see his face. It's like he's got the hood on and this long jacket. And immediately I said, that's got to be his character, because only the biggest douche of the world would wear that in real life. Like it was a normal
into a meeting. Like if you're going, you know,
like if you're going,
I guess if you own a company and you're a gamer, why not dress the way you want?
Yeah.
But he's like, how old is he? And I'm like, I'm the kind of person, I'm like, wear what you want to wear, blah, blah, blah. But they do it on purpose. Like they build this character to be stereotypical. And there are a lot of stereotypes in this movie. And it's not to be like a dick. It's to be funny. Like a lot of, if you go out and read some of the critiques of this movie, there are a lot of people that are angry with the stereotypes of gamers. And all I have to say to that is, does that hit too close to home for you?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things, I read an interview with Shawn Levy, who's the director, and they based Taika Waititi's character on an actual Hollywood producer, because when they were pitching this movie, the producer kept going, so what's the IP value? What's this based on? And they're like, it's an original. And he's like, okay, so it's not a sequel, but what's it based on? And they're like, no, it's an original idea. And he's like, is it based on a video game or a movie or like a book? And they're like, no, it's an original piece of work here. And the guy just couldn't get his head around it. And that's how that character came to be.
That is awesome. Like, I hope that that's 100% true, because I am sure that there are Hollywood producers that looked at this movie and said, I don't get it, because we don't like,
how do I merchandise this? How do I
make money off this?
Well, and it's based on so many things, but also nothing at the same time. Like there's so many things that they've brought into the movie. And there's so many things that it
I'll read real quick. I had a friend text me this after he saw it, and he said, it's a lot of Elf and The Truman Show, borrowing from Groundhog Day. It's what Ready Player One should have been, with a dash of Deadpool humor.
Absolutely on the Ready Player One piece. Like, it was like somebody said they were watching Ready Player One and they thought, what if we could make a movie like this that was really good? I'm into the what if questions, and that's probably Marvel's fault, but it's fine. I'm going to go with it. What if we made a movie that was like this, but it was good and people enjoyed it? And then they came up with Free Guy.
Yeah, this movie, you can tell everybody was having so much fun making this, whereas Ready Player One was such a joyless exercise. Like, nobody was having fun. The actors weren't having fun. Steven Spielberg wasn't having fun. And I said this to Val after the screening. I'm like, this is what Ready Player One could have been.
Yeah, it really is what it should have been, because before this, we've talked about, different movies that are based on video games and how there aren't very many out there that are good. I mean, Mortal Kombat just came out again, and that was a good movie. But however, that's not like a video game movie. Like yes, it's a movie based on a video game, but it's not a video game movie. But even movies based on video games are few and far between when they're actually good. Yeah. But this was actually, and there are some critics that really just hit this movie hard, like with The Ugly Stick. Like they think that it's trite. They think that it's stereotypical. And I'm just like, you just don't like fun. It's just fun.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just go to a movie to have a good time, to have fun, to let Ryan Reynolds make you laugh. Yeah, there are some things in this movie that are super predictable. There are some things in this movie that I didn't even see coming, right? It is a little bit safe, but that's okay. Like it's a movie to sit in the theater, to have some laughs, to talk to your friends with afterwards, and to have a good time.
To me,
go ahead, Jake.
Oh, I was just going to say, I went in with the mindset of, I want this movie, I want to be entertained.
Right.
And this movie delivered that and more, because what I wasn't expecting, and we'll get into it, is that this had some heart to it. And there was a little bit more to it than just having a good time and lots of laughs. It delivered on the good time and lots of laughs, but it delivered more for me too.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Ryan Reynolds fan. I send your hate mail my way. I don't mind him, but Deadpool is just not my thing. I just didn't find that character that amusing. He's just kind of always been okay to me, and I was really hesitant when I first heard about the movie. I'm like, we'll see. And then as I started to see some of the trailers, I'm like, this might actually be good. And then when Val was like, you guys, this is so much fun, and there are parts where I cheered, I was like, okay. And I'm with Jake. I went in and I said, I just want to be entertained. And Ryan Reynolds kind of won me over. He's so charming and funny, and yet surprisingly good. There was some decent acting in this, which was nice to see.
I was surprised by that too. Not because I don't think Ryan Reynolds isn't a good actor, but it goes beyond him. Taika Watiti was really good. The guy who played Keys, who's a new up-and-comer, and I'm looking up his name right now, Joe Keery, who is in Stranger Things, plays Steve in that, and he's fantastic in that. But he was really good in this. And I'm like, they need to put him in every movie from now on forever, because I think this is going to be the movie, hopefully, that propels him into that kind of superstardom, because I think he's got that it factor.
Well, and then Jodie Comer, who I'm not familiar with, like I've seen her maybe in a few things, but as soon as everybody that saw this movie that I invited, they all said to me after the movie or before the movie, because she's won, Emmys, but she was in Rise of Skywalker, very, small role, but she's in Killing Eve, which I haven't seen. And everybody loves Killing Eve, but yeah, she plays Rey's mother, by the way, in Star Wars. So, but yeah, I haven't
seen for not recognizing her right away.
Yeah. But her face is familiar, but it also is very much the character's face of like the girl next door, that's a gamer, that like I totally get why they chose her. And it's really fantastic. But there's so many things, like at the beginning of the movie, her character comes down into the game and meets up with a character that she's trying to rob. And the character said, "Oh, is that your voice, or are you using, a voice, stabilizer or whatever?" That's Hugh Jackman. That's his voice. So the character is using Hugh Jackman's voice as his voice, just saying like, once you get in these video games, you can be whoever you want, basically. And I love the fact that that's an ongoing theme throughout the movie, because, they'll go from this big like guy that's holding up this bank, and he's got the, his hair and all his stuff. And then they flash to the other screen, and it's like two elementary girls.
Yes.
That are playing.
That was such a great scene where she's like, just blow that mother. And she doesn't say it. Like, it cuts away from her saying it, just so that, but that makes it even better when they cut away, and it's like, oh man.
And this is real, because this is the thing. I'm not a gamer like this. Like, I have a lot of friends that are gamers, but I remember like my ex-husband and my current husband, like they play video games and they get so into it, that I hear them say things that they wouldn't say on a regular basis. And now you've got these two little girls that are in elementary school dressed up as these big thugs, taking over a bank and like saying all this nasty stuff. Like this is the gaming world. Like that's so funny to me.
So I grew up as a gamer. I was old school. I had the original Nintendo. And
like I'm a gamer like that, Nintendo, but yeah.
I didn't play much in the online world. I've dabbled a little bit here and there, but yeah, hearing some of the comments from some of these people, and like, you know, that they're like 10-year-old kids that are killing your character and then like dancing over your body and laughing at you. You know, it's like, oh my gosh. I played Call of Duty with my nephew once, and he outfitted me with like every weapon, all the best armor. All he had was a knife, and he killed me like in record time.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's like that scene in Thor.
Yeah.
Or not in Thor, but in when they go pick up Thor
in
Endgame. Yeah. And, you know, and he's like, you know, whatever dickhead is
mocking me.
is saying these things to me again. And so he gets on there, and I'm just like, this is so funny to me, but it's so great. And they show all these different, and if you are a gamer, they do have like some real gamers that they have like come in and talk and stuff like that. So I think that's really cool.
That was one thing my 14-year-old pointed out to me. He's like, oh yeah, I know that guy, like the actual YouTubers.
Oh, cool.
Like,
yeah, my nephews that were sitting next to me in the movie the second time I watched it, like they perked up in their seats because they're like, those are superstars to them, right? You know, because they know them and watch them on YouTube and TikTok and all these things and Twitch and whatever. You know, I used to play, like, again, Mortal Kombat, all the you know, the Nintendo original games like Zelda and Super Mario Brothers and Gran Turismo. I remember that game was like one of my favorites. But like, I never got into like the shooter games or whatever like that. I just didn't. But you don't have to. You'll understand it if you have ever heard anything about gaming ever. And even if you haven't, but if you have, then some of these things will be, you know, even better. But I love the fact that they're all different inside the game, except for Ryan Reynolds' character, because he's not real.
He's a non-playable character.
I love it because you see him and his best friend, Buddy, and they're in the bank, and somebody comes in to hold it up, and Buddy just drops his, you know, doesn't even think about it, drops his guns to the floor. They go behind the counter. Ryan Reynolds is like this.
Yes, and they're kicking in the back. Yes.
And they're just talking about their day and what they're going to do later.
You want to go over and get some ice cream after work?
Get beers at the beach? Well, of course I want to get beers at the beach.
Yes. I love the way that they've portrayed the non-playable characters in this, that you got to see not behind the scenes. I don't think that's really how it works. But yeah, the guy with the arms up the whole time. It's like, well, for starters, you can put your arms down.
No, it doesn't feel natural.
No, that's it.
But I mean, like, if you've ever played a game ever, like you've seen these little characters, and I love it. But like you said earlier, there's so much heart. They throw things in there every once in a while. The two creators of the game, which you don't realize until a little bit in, that they were friends. So the guy works keys. He works at this place, and then you have the girl, Millie, who is trying to take this game down. They take this company down, but then you see a clip of them, and they had created a game that now she thinks is inside this game, and they kind of have this moment, and you know at that point there is something between them, whether it's a really good friendship, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, there's something there. But I have to say my favorite, like, heart-warming scene is that of Buddy and Guy towards the end of the movie, when he's trying to tell Buddy, what if we're not real? Because he now knows that they're not real. And he's going to visit his best friend. And he said, what if we're not real? And he's like, so what? So what if we're not real? And he's like, what do you mean, so what? He's like, I'm sitting here helping a friend in need. And he's like, I don't know what's more real than that.
Yeah.
And I just thought, because we all have this thing every day. We're going through our lives. We may not be characters in a game, but we might feel like it. You know, we're sitting here, and you wake up every day. Excuse me. You do the same thing. You go to, I know, like my new husband, it's still weird to say that. He goes to the same coffee place every day. We go to the same place to eat breakfast on Tuesday. Like, he is very much this, and I'm not. Like, I'm just all over the place, and he's just this, you know, but we all feel like we get up every day. We go to work. We do the same things. We drive home. We go to the grocery store, and then we probably sit and think about this every once in a while. Is like, is any of this worth it? Like, what does any of this lead to? So I just felt like that was such in this game this movie that's all full of nonsense. That moment between two characters who do not exist could actually have those thoughts that are so real. I just thought that was a nice slow down of a moment because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
So much going on.
And I'm with you, Al. I like the fact that they give those little moments, little character moments, and time to let the film breathe. Because so often it's just go, 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 and to have that cut back. But when you were talking about doing the same thing every day, it made me think of when I first played The Sims, and I only played it for like an hour, and then I'm like, why do I want to make my character get up in the morning, get dressed, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, work out, watch a TV show, brush his teeth, and go to bed, and do it all again the next day? I'm like, that's my life, you know?
Yeah. I want to go ride a centaur. I don't want to do that. I just rode a centaur. I know it seems weird. He's half horse, half man, and I rode him.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and I think that this video game that they show is a little bit more why people do get immersed in some of these kinds of games, because it is, when you're playing the game, you know, there is the Sims game, which would be like you're playing Guy the whole time. But when you're playing this game, it's much more like
when you have sunglasses on.
It could be
when you're one of the sunglasses people, you can see everything. Yeah, there you go. Val's one of the sunglasses people.
Ooh.
But in
I
this game, you can do whatever you want.
I feel like Tom Cruise.
I think one good sign, though, when you know that this is going to be a fun movie, because you mentioned everybody's having a really good time, and you can tell when you're watching it, but immediately, like, when you see Channing Tatum show up as one of the avatars, and you're like, okay, they got him to just come in and like be a bit player, like, and do the dances, like,
and he's so douchey. Like, he is like the biggest, lamest. Oh my!
Until you get to see who the guy is behind the game.
Mom, put down that sock. I promise, if you touch that sock.
Do you know who the voice of the mom was? I didn't find this out till today. It's Tina Fey.
Oh my God.
They called up Tina Fey and said, "Will you be a part of this?" And she said yes. And that's that guy's mom.
So many people.
And the thing is, you can go to the IMDb page right now and you can see all of them that are in this, but there's one that's not on there. And it's probably the best cameo in the whole movie. And like, seriously, we're going to talk about it. And if you haven't seen it, please don't listen past this point, because it was one of the moments where I cheered. And I don't even think it lists him in the credits at all on IMDb. But that moment with the shield was pretty awesome.
I think we can say
that's one of the moments that I cheered.
Yeah.
That's one, because it's so hard to get the rights to show anything Marvel, anything Star Wars, you know, and we've seen movies like Ready Player One was a huge failure because the big part of the book was all of these nerdy things that we love. You loved the Rush music, you loved Steven Spielberg, you loved Star Wars, like all these things that they could not show in the movie, or he chose not to. And so, you know, that's one big reason I think that failed, as well as the awful writing and directing. I'm sorry, Steven, I love you. But with this, like, they did such a good job, like building it up and building it up. And he's there fighting against his rock self. And then all of a sudden he pulls out the shield and the Marvel music comes on and everybody's watching this live stream. And then they show Chris Evans watching it. And he's like, what the hell?
Yeah. He says, what the shit? And what's great about that, so Ryan Reynolds on Twitter just shared that the cinema score for this is an A. So people have given this an A, all the people that have seen it. Not all the people, but a lot of the people have. So it's an A. And he said, what the shit? Because he was quoting Chris
Right.
Evans from the movie, and somebody responded with, I got that reference, and I just loved the whole thing. The whole thing was just, the whole Twitter exchange, it was the most magical thing that's happened on Twitter in a long time.
Yeah. But it's awesome that he got all these different people, all these different pop culture references.
Yeah.
There's so many things going on. It's so busy, but at the same time, we understand all of it. There's still heart. We care about the characters, whether they're real or not. Like the cat lady, I care about the cat lady. Like they gave us enough to know about the cat lady that even when he's yelling at the cat, when she's yelling at her, you know, they're not just going to lock onto each other and kind of like, I feel bad that he's yelling at her because she doesn't know any better. It's just in her programming, you know?
Yeah.
But like,
well,
again, just such a great storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah, I read an interview with the director, and he said that they fought for a while to get the rights to the Marvel shield and the music. And once they did, then Ryan Reynolds immediately called Chris Evans and said, "Can I steal you for 10 minutes? We can just put you in a scene." And he was like, "Yeah, I can make that work."
That's so awesome.
All these kind of connections to do it. But
yeah.
That one I wasn't as surprised as the Star Wars reference. That one really surprised me.
Is that a lightsaber? That's a lightsaber.
Star Wars does not allow their stuff to play in other universes. That is locked down.
Especially right after here's Marvel, here's Star Wars.
Yeah, and to get the sound effect and you get the actual lightsaber, I'm like, yeah, that was. I'm with you, Val. I cheered out loud at those. Yeah.
But that was nice that they threw that in there, because before that they enraged Star Wars fans by having Taika Watiti call him his Padawan and like that he was a Sith Lord and all this. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. That's just wrong.
Your daddy emperor, whatever that line was.
Yeah, your daddy emperor, whatever. It's like, oh my gosh.
But that's how douchey he is. That's how douchey he is.
And he spells tsunami SOONAMI. Gross.
Well, his name is Antoine, but it's ANTWAN. It's Antoine.
Yeah. So bad.
I loved. I had a couple of favorite lines from the movie, and one of which is going back to Tina Fey as the mom, when she says something like, "You're 22 years old. You're still living under my roof. There is no God."
So many good liners.
The other one that killed me is when Taika's trying to explain why he needs to give people what they want instead of something original. And he's like, so say I run a Kentucky Fried Chicken and you love the Kentucky Fried Chicken and you want to eat all the Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm not going to serve you Albuquerque smoked turkey.
Albuquerque boiled turkey. It was boiled turkey, which is even weirder because who eats boiled turkey anyway?
That's right, Albuquerque boiled turkey, yeah. But evidently that was completely spontaneous, just off the top of his head. And Shawn Levy was like, that's in the movie.
Yeah. Albuquerque boiled turkey. Like that is just awesome. Just awesome. The other line that I really liked that was really funny was when she kisses Guy for the first time, when Millie kisses Guy for the first time, and Keys comes over right after that and explains that he's an AI, that he's not even real. It's not even another player on the other side. And she's like, I just kissed him. It's like, there's not even a button for that. Oh, he found the button. Like, oh my gosh.
That was a great line. Her delivery on that was so good.
It was really, really well done. Oh, he found
and I liked with her character how she's super like glamorous in the show without being like sexualized. Like they didn't have her in like short skirts or, you know, some kind of leotard outfit. I mean, like she's got pants and she's got a jacket and she's got, you know, but I loved how they played with that. And in the real life, she looks like kind of this quiet, mousy, everyday woman. Whereas in the game, she's so glamorous. And I like how they played off of that. It took me a minute to realize that that was the same actress. Because they look so different.
Yeah, her, Keys, and Mouser, their avatars were always just different, dressed up versions of them, like Mouser in his pink bunny suit.
When they're like trying to tell Ryan Reynolds to take off his skin, and
I would like to comply.
I would want to comply. I just don't understand what you're saying.
But I love again. I don't know. I've kind of just always had it. It's just
when Joe Carey's got that police mustache, he's like, "Come on, Neutrogena." You know, his bubble gum.
Well, I love it when they're talking about going into the game. They're like, okay, so what are you going to do this time? Well, I'm going to do the pedophile mustache or whatever he calls it. And he's like, I'm just going to do the whole body pink mustache. Oh my gosh. And when he comes out with the pink bunny suit on, and Ryan Reynolds tried to explain that later, that the cop and the pink rabbit were chasing after him.
So I'm curious, have you talked to any of the Cutscenes and Cupcakes people?
I haven't. I don't know if they've seen it yet.
I'm just curious to know what their thoughts were, because I'm sure there are, like, I got a lot of the gaming references. There's like homages to Pac-Man. I really liked the Portal. I thought that was really clever, because the orange and the blue portals, because that was a really fun game. But I'm sure there's a ton of video game references in there that I just didn't pick up on, but still enjoyed.
Yeah. And one of the things that Ryan Reynolds has been asked a lot is, okay, you have all of these, references in this movie, but the one that you don't have is a reference to Deadpool. And he said, well, I wanted to make sure that this movie stood on its own. He's like, this movie isn't about Deadpool. It's about Guy. And he's like, it's not, like we said earlier, there's a quote in an article where he says it's not based on another movie. It's not a sequel. It's not based on a comic book. And he's like, if I would have brought that into this movie, it would have changed the dynamic of the movie. And I agree with him. I don't think we needed to have that at all.
Although they did have Deadpool and Korg from the Marvel Universe give their thoughts on the trailer, which was pretty amusing.
I didn't see that.
It's Deadpool and Korg from the Marvel Universe sitting on the couch talking about the trailer for New Guy. It's pretty clever. It's pretty good.
Sure, because you've got Taika Watiti and Ryan Reynolds. I think that's awesome. I think that's great. So this isn't based on any one game, and it's not a sequel. However, hitting the news today is that Disney is interested in a sequel for this movie, which isn't surprising because it's done very well. I think that it's just been successful as far as people really enjoy it that have seen it. I don't know what the numbers are going to be yet. We could probably find, they've got to probably have projections for opening weekend at this point, but even if, it's not going to do pre-COVID numbers, obviously, but
28.4 million.
Yeah. Which is good in the COVID climate that we're talking about. Cause I know Black Widow was the biggest at like 25 million. So it sounds like this is going to beat Black Widow.
Overseas, it took in an additional 22.5 million from 41 markets. So total global start has $51 million. It's not had a release in China yet.
Yeah. So I think globally opening weekend, Black Widow did better, but
they predicted 17 to 20. So to come out at 28, they're pretty excited about that.
Yeah. So this is doing really well in the current climate that we're in. And so they're looking at doing a sequel. And I don't know how I feel about a sequel to this movie. Like there's definitely part of me that's like, yes, I would definitely love more of this movie. But there's also part of me that says, I really like where the story ended. And I don't know that I need more of it.
I think if they did something that was like, Guy has already done his part, but you know how sometimes every once in a while they'll do a sequel that's now it's about the same idea, but now we've hit a different character. So what if there was a character that was somewhere in this world that maybe was left out of all of this stuff? Like he liked his life in the other world, and now he's been pulled over here. And cool, now he is the villain in the story that he is creating inside of this new world or something like that. Like I wouldn't mind staying in this idea that we have artificial intelligence that is growing within the games that's also influencing people outside of the game. I like that. Again, I don't know that having Ryan Reynolds' story continue, because I feel like they closed that. It's great. Right. He skips off into the sunset with Buddy, Millie and Keys are over there, whatever. Like this is all tied up nicely, but Taika Watiti, his character is now maybe going to jail.
Right.
And there might be a character that's based on him in his, or you know what I mean? Like there could be this other kind of story. That's what I would be in for. Like I would be okay with that, but I don't think coming back to this story,
I agree.
Maybe maybe they're, kind of are in there a little bit because they have to reference it. But I think doing something totally different like they did with this one, but still, it's not Free Guy anymore, but we're in it's like, doing Hobbs and Shaw off of Fast and Furious. You understand. And there's these characters that we liked over here, and now we're going to tell their story.
Yeah. Well, I read an interview with the director before the movie came out, and they asked him about a potential sequel, and he's like, we were so busy focusing on making this the best movie it could be. He's like, that's what we were focused on. We weren't talking about making this a multi-movie franchise. And he said, having said that, he's like, I do have some ideas, but nothing concrete. And he said he'd really have to have something that he was really excited about in order to do it. And I hope that's the case, because you could tell how much fun and love they put into this movie. And it didn't feel commercialized. It didn't feel
even though it was a giant commercial.
It's a giant commercial, but it doesn't feel like
exactly.
that. I think you nailed it on the head, Val, when you were talking about some of those smaller scenes. It gives you that heart. It gives you that feeling of being pulled into the movie and not just being marketed to.
And I think if this movie can teach us anything about a sequel, is you don't want to just take what people liked,
right,
and then just repackage it and roid it up and throw it out there half developed with half a brain, because then you end up with dude.
Dude, that's what it was, not bro, it was dude.
Dude.
I love the fact that dude had a blue shirt tattooed on his
back. And my favorite is that his catchphrase was literally catchphrase.
The 3 things that I love in life is 1, blah, blah, blah. 2, adjective. 3, the next thing, or whatever.
TBD.
Insert. TBD. Insert line here.
Oh, and I love the fact, too, they set that up by saying the character was only like half completed. Taika's like, no, he's perfect. Throw him in there.
Yeah. I'm going to kill you. Catchphrase.
But this just felt so fresh and different. And I really hope that if they do a sequel, it is something just as creative and just as out of the box, and not just a retread of this. Because in a way, that kind of would ruin the fun that I had with this. One question I had for you guys: do you think you would have enjoyed it if this was available streaming? Do you think you would have enjoyed it as much watching it at home? Because to me, I love seeing comedies with an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would enjoy it at home. I don't think it would have had the same impact.
Yes.
I think this movie, it holds its own. It is good, but being in a theater and having those moments come up and feeling that anticipation with the people around you, I think makes this movie. It's just like seeing if you were to see Star Wars for the first time at home, which I know a lot of people do now, like their kids are shown, Star Wars at home because they can't in the theater. It's not going to be, as impactful to them, where I think, if you turn this on at home and you watch it, you're probably going to laugh. You're probably going to enjoy it. But having people around you cheering and getting so excited about the same things, I think there is, that's worth the price of admission. So
I felt that way too about Suicide Squad, Val.
I wouldn't have enjoyed it if I would have watched it at home.
I still would have enjoyed it, but I think it was much funner being in the theater with people.
But for me, because I'm not a huge fan,
right,
I think it would have just felt long and drawn out. I think I would have laughed at certain points, but I think sitting there with you and then the person on the other side of me hated it, which was so funny, because I'm in this weird sandwich of laughing my butt off to like hating this movie.
Yes.
And then people behind me, yelling things out. And so there's just that experience that goes with it. That is that movie theater experience that I don't ever want to get rid of. I just think it's so important to filmmaking, because a huge part of filmmaking, the reason why the first movies ever made, where you got people together under a tent and you put a screen up, and you're rolling the stuff and a guy's playing the piano and you're going with the crowd and everybody's, in awe together,
right.
And that's how they got their news too, in big theaters, and so it's just, it was created to be a community experience. That's what movies were created to be. And we're in a world now that you can do both, and that's really great if that's your jam. But for me, the theater experience is something I hope never goes away for movies like this, like literally for movies like this and Endgame and Star Wars. And, like I watched Coda the other day, and I watched it at home with Dave. And I do think, no, I watched that one by myself, actually. I watched that one by myself, and I cried almost the halfway, like the last 20 minutes of the movie, where, I think in the theater it may have been a little more impactful, but I maybe wouldn't have cried because you're in a theater with people. So I do think there's two sides of that story, is the fact that we get to have that time with certain movies, but that's a movie also. Go check it out, Coda.
That's on Apple TV, correct?
It's fantastic. So many good movies lately. Like we had a little bit of a dry spell. Not everything's magical, but this last couple of weeks, there's been some really great movies, and I'm just going to jump into it. 2 weeks in a row for me is an A. I'm giving this movie an A because I've watched it again. I've seen it twice now. I would watch it again. I kind of want to have everyone experience this movie just because it was so much fun for me,
Yeah.
I'm going to be close to that. I'm going to go A-. There were a couple of parts that felt a little long, but so refreshing, so unique, so fresh. It's solid A-, almost an A for me.
I'm going to be the one that brings us down today, and I feel really bad because I'm usually not. And I'm not bringing us down a ton. I'm going with a B+. That's still really, really good. I want to be clear that this is not a downer of a grade for me. I enjoyed this movie more than I thought that I would. I knew I would have fun. I knew it would be great. And I really loved the love story between Keys and Millie, and I loved how that developed. There was a lot of it that was really good. But I feel like, and this is really weird to me because I feel the opposite of Val. I feel like I've experienced it once, and I don't know that I need to go back and experience it again, but I would totally tell everyone to go and experience it at least once. And so for me, that would be a B+.
Nice.
That worked. Yeah, I want to see it again just to try and catch more Easter eggs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Dave hasn't seen it, and Dave's the gamer, and so I want to experience it with him.
I totally get that. Yeah, for sure. But it was so nice to be back in a theater and being with people that we know and being able to talk about it afterwards. We're all kind of like hanging out in the hall, just talking about the movie and recapping it. And that was so much fun.
It was nice to come in and, right when I walked in, I came around the corner of the theater and somebody was already yelling out, Jake, because they recognized me, and it just made me feel so good. It was Tracy that recognized me, and that's, but I did turn and say, I have fans that I waved at him. But
somebody's willing to scream my name out loud in a crowded mall.
So this is a really good movie, though. I would definitely recommend it. Go see it in the theaters. I do think that you're going to enjoy the experience more in the theaters than if you wait for it to come out. And I get it. I've got a really nice TV at home and a really nice, I'm not talking about the TV and the sound system, but just experience this with other people. And I think you'll enjoy it more. So there you go. We, two weeks in a row, some pretty solid movies.
Now, we have not said it's Val's birthday.
Yes.
So happy birthday, Valerie.
Happy birthday, Val.
It's the year of everything. 42.
Yes, this is it. This is when you get all the answers.
Yep.
I'm waiting like I'm super excited. I got my notepads from the school supply. I'm just waiting for those answers to come.
Perfect. That's exactly how it'll work out.
And now Tracy for my birthday is going to sing Mariah Carey. Here we go.
Almost at all the places.
I'll lip sync to it. You sing all lip sync.
You at the movies. Okay. Wait, you sing all lip sync. Well, I don't think that was the point. I think we want you to try to hit the notes.
Dude, I am not. I'm a bad singer to begin with, but I can't hit 9 octaves.
I just am surprised that you being a bad singer is stopping you this time, because it has never stopped you.
Never in the past.
That is a daunting song. Are you kidding me?
All right.
I need Colin. That's what I need. I need Colin.
We need Colin. Colin would do that for sure. All right. We won't see you at the movies.
This has